Did you ever hear of f***ing portion control, you fat motherfucker? Portion control!
Oh yeah, I definitely have. And I think for the general population, in most respects, I think that is the most accepted way of eating properly. But it's something that has never worked for me. So in today's video, I am going to be breaking down the video that Cole Robinson, aka the Snake Diet guy, talked about when it comes to portion control. I'm just going to give my thoughts, my feedback, my personal experience when it comes to portion control. I understand what Cole's trying to do here, but it is a little different to see him talk about like eating OMAD or eating multiple times a day. It's something I didn't expect, especially because Cole is the reason that I started to do extended fasts. I, again, get why he's making this video, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit later down throughout the rest of this video, but let's get into it.
You're only fasting a small amount of those days.
So that's the thing. I don't. I actually fast for more days than I do on my eating days. Since September of 2019, for the past 14 plus months, if I were to average how many fasting days I've had over eating days, I think I have fasted for 2/3 of those days in the past 14 plus months. And then 1/3 of those days have only been eating days. And if you even want to break it down further, those eating days are in such small refeeding windows. And they might not be 1 hour small, but they're around 4 to 6 hours. Sometimes a little longer, but usually around the 4 to 6 hour mark. I fast for more days than I eat.
But all of the rest of those f***ing days that you're eating, if you can't f***ing manage your f***ing portion control and control food volume so you're not overeating on the eating days, you're never going to keep the f***ing weight off, you fat f***ing pig.
So Cole is definitely right here, and he's pretty much talking about being in a caloric deficit. If you're overeating on your eating days, then you're not going to be able to maintain or lose weight. That is why I do rolling extended fasts. That's why I do 90+ hour fasts. That's why I do 65+ hour fasts, because I put them in conjunction with about how many calories I eat per refeed. I eat 6,000 to 7,000 calories per refeed. That is why I fast for 65 hours. That's why I fast for 90 hours, because even at those intervals of fasting, I can eat that much and still lose weight or maintain weight.
If you can't sustain a proper food volume intake on the eating days, when you go back to eating, you're just gonna gain all the f***ing weight back.
Again, Cole is right. The way he's looking at this is, if you're fasting, you need to figure out what your plan is after you finish fasting. So for me, my plan is to continue doing rolling fasts. That method, that fasting protocol, fasting regimen has changed over time. That's why I've gone from like a varied amount of fasting, doing 168s, to switching it up to 90s, to doing alternate 90s and 65s, to doing 65s, and now talking about doing 42s or doing an alternate like rotation of that. But if you don't have a plan to figure out what you do after you fast, you're setting yourself up for failure.
So we're talking eating every day and still maintaining weight, if not losing slightly. If you can't do that, you're never gonna keep the weight off. It doesn't matter how fucking much you fast.
So this is where Cole and I don't see eye to eye here, but I get what he's saying. If you plan on eating every day, you should know how to properly maintain your calories or properly restrict your calories so that you don't overeat, so that you don't gain weight. But I still don't agree that you have to eat every day, especially for somebody like me that has trouble with portion control. I think what I'm trying to get out of this is, don't let a video like this make you feel like you have to eat every day. You can do ADF. You can alternate day fast. You can do longer than that. And in that time, while you're doing it, you can figure out then how to tweak things to make things easier if you are going to start to limit the number of hours you're doing towards fasting. It's something that I'm learning, something that I still haven't figured out. That's why I'm still doing these rolling fasts. That's why I'm still doing 65+ hour fasts, because I am still really, really scared to drop that number down. And I'm afraid that I'm not going to be able to limit my calories. But in the meantime, I'm doing what I can to maintain and still lose a little weight to get to my goal weight. And that's fine for me. I'm in a happy place. I've been doing it for X amount of months, 14+ months, and I weigh 120 something, right? I've lost 90+ pounds and no complaints.
If you can't eat like 2 meal a day or 3 meal a day or 1 meal a day at maintenance or slightly below, where you're cutting slowly on those eating days, you're never going to keep the weight off.
So I can't eat twice a day or 3 times a day or once a day. Doing any of that, I've tried it for decades, and that has led me to failure for decades. Rolling fasts, doing these 65s and 90s, this is the only thing that's been successful for me. To do those longer fasts, eat big, and then repeat. And then do it again and do it again until I get to my goal weight. Pretty much what Cole is saying is, let's say you do a 4, 5, 6 day fast. After you finish doing that fast, what is your next plan of action? Is it to eat OMAD every day? Is it to eat 2, 3 times a day? He's saying if you are planning on doing that, you got to make sure that you keep yourself at a caloric deficit or eat at a sustainable amount of calories so that you don't gain weight or you lose just a little bit of weight. That's something that I've been doing on my 65s. So I do 65-hour fasts. I eat about 6,000 calories, but that's just enough to lose just a little bit. If you don't believe me, look at my past episodes of Break Fast. Look at when I was doing 90+ hour fasts. Look how I was losing weight every single time, and look at the 65s and how it slowed it down, but still enough to keep me losing weight. It can be done. I just don't always agree with doing OMAD or eating every day. For me, I don't even to think about doing like eating 2 or 3 times a day just doesn't work for me. I don't like the fact that I'd be spiking my insulin up when I shouldn't. I get what he's saying. Trust me. I get it. I understand it, because a lot of people, after doing a longer fast, they have trouble getting back on another fast. Maybe that's a different conversation to have. That's a different topic to cover. But if you're not able to do that, then you have to figure out your calories. I've said this before. The longer you fast, the less you have to worry about calories. But if you break early, you need to have your backup plan in place.
If you're binging like a fat lazy pig on OMAD coming off fast, that doesn't work, obviously.
And I'm proof of that. Obviously, I have been doing OMAD for a long, long time before I found out about extended fasting, before I found Cole, before I realized that you could fast for multiple days and not die. When I was doing OMAD, that was like the smallest success that I really had. But I was doing OMAD, plus I was doing low carb, and doing those two things didn't work for me because 1, I had trouble with portion control, and 2, limiting macros or taking macros away from me was a trigger for me to overeat, to binge. And that's why, again, I might be a small niche, whatever you want to call it, when it comes to the way I eat, but it's something that works for me. You need to find something that works for you. I'm not telling you to do 65s. I'm not telling you to do 90-hour fasts, but maybe a 36 is what works for you. Maybe a 48 is what works for you. Maybe a 72 is what works for you based on how many calories you eat. You don't have to worry about losing all the weight at once. If you want to lose it slowly, you can do it in that method too. That is the beauty of fasting.
OMAD can backfire. I'm going to be the first one to tell you this.
He's not the first one to tell you that. I've told you guys this. I've told you OMAD doesn't work for me. It hasn't worked for me in years. Cole is the reason that I learned how to do extended fasts. He's the reason that I have had success in losing weight, because I have learned to fast for longer periods of time, do it in a sustainable way. If anyone is watching this and they don't believe it, just look back at my videos. look back and see how long I've been consistent for. I've been so consistent when it comes to fasting, when it comes to refeeding, and then repeating the process over and over to consistently lose weight, to show how I can lose 90 plus pounds, still function, still work, still do everything I've been doing. 2020 has been a shitty year for a lot of people, but I have even learned to deal with those really low points where I have wanted to give up. I have had so much success in my fasting journey, in my weight loss journey, that I have to promote what I do. I really do. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do OMAD. I'm not saying that you shouldn't eat 2 or 3 times a day. I think most people, that's how they live their lives. They do that and they learn how to calorie restrict. It's just for people like me, that is not always the answer.
You get used to eating that meal a day, you're chasing that meal, especially if you're eating it at night. Okay, you're chasing that fucking meal, gets bigger and bigger and bigger, then your fucking guts out to here, and you're way overeating on OMAD. If that starts to happen, obviously that doesn't fucking work, you idiots. So you gotta do something that works. If you have to do fucking 2 meals a day just so you don't eat like a fucking pig, so be it.
So yes and no, but first, he talks about not eating at night, or at least says, especially if you eat at night. I have, for the past 14 plus months, I have done all of my refeeds at night, always at night, sometimes even a lot later at night because I've been working, but it has worked for me. I have still lost weight. I can see the benefit of doing it earlier in the day. You got to do what works for you. I just don't think that because you eat at night, you're going to fail or that it's going to trigger something, but it's different for everyone. If that's a trigger for you, then you need to rethink about what you're doing. For me, when I eat super late at night, that works for me because as soon as I finish eating, I have like done all the work I needed to do during the day. I get to sit and relax. I don't have to worry about anything. I watch TV. I enjoy my refeed. And by the time I finish, by the time I get satiated, I'm so tired that I fall asleep. And then I sleep like a baby and then I start my fast. So he talks about if you're not able to do OMAD, which is something that I haven't been able to do, then do 2 a day or eat 3 times a day. And that's something, again, that I've tried that doesn't work for me. Or what you can do is you can try to do these rolling fasts. You can do 36s or 48s or what have you. Whatever works for you depending on your caloric intake. You have to take that into account. It can be done. I just don't want people to watch this and feel like they need to switch back to OMAD. They need to switch back to eating multiple times a day. It can be done. You just have to figure out what works for you. If you do a 5 or 6 day fast, it doesn't mean that you have to eat OMAD the next day unless you want to. But it also doesn't mean that you have to do another 5 or 6 day fast. Maybe you can do like an alternate day fast or do a 65 or a 90 or whatever. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to tell you that you have options. The beauty about fasting is that it's flexible. It is very flexible and you can make it work for you.
You have to be able to lose weight eating every day. That has to be a tool in your arsenal. If you can't do that, you will not keep weight off.
So 14 plus months. I've said it many times in this video. I've lost over 90 pounds and I haven't eaten back-to-back days in, how long has it been? It's probably been over half a year since I've eaten back-to-back days. So first of all, I have to disagree with that last part. I don't eat every day and I'm able to lose weight. I am learning how to limit my calories as I progress down from a 65-hour fast to a 42. And a big reason that I'm doing that, because there might be some of you that are wondering, why don't you just stick to 65s then if you're getting success? The reason that I can't do it is every time I do a 65, I'm still losing weight. There's going to be a point where I can't lose any more weight. And 42s is probably where it's going to take me. And that's where I'm going to learn, or at least try to learn how to eat properly. If I can eventually learn to eat properly there, then maybe I can even entertain doing OMAD. But that's so far down the road. It's not even something I'm worried about at the moment. But Cole says that you have to have it as a tool in your arsenal, and I agree. You have to have a ton of tools in your arsenal, but that might not be your strongest tool. That's not my strongest tool. My strongest tool is being able to fast for long periods of time. That's what I'm good at. I'm good at that. What are my weaker tools? Portion control, eating multiple times a day, eating OMAD, limiting my calories. That's what I'm awful at. That's something I'm working on. But while I figure that out, I am going to do these rolling fasts until I get to my goals, because I'm like 99% there. I respect Cole for a lot of what he says and what he does. Trust me, editing his clips, getting all the swears out was such a pain in the ass. But I wanted to post this because I do agree with a lot of what he's saying. But at the same time, I just want people to understand that you don't have to do OMAD if you don't want to. You can find success if you know how to take the other tools that you have and make it work for you.